Poet Laureates of Britain. Who are they? How many are they? Who is the most net friendly? I'll tell you all. Hello, how are you? This is Heena from Team Vallath. Today's questions, or you can say today's video, is based on the Poet Laureates of Britain. And the book that I'm following is, I'm telling you that the new series that we've started is based on our Vallath book, Literary Master Reference Book. So in this, I chose the content which says Poet Laureates of Britain. There's a complete list that you will get in this book. And what additional I do in this video, I'll tell you. All the important poet laureates, I have tried to give in extra information about them. Okay, you will love it. Just keep listening to my lecture. It is a continuous flow of events, and by the end of the video, I promise you, you will learn all the poet laureates. Okay, let's start now. First, you need to know the origin of poet laureateship. This was a royal literary office, still is. It was established in the year 1668 by the British monarch, in which the British monarch would appoint one poet to represent the national life in verse, to represent what is important in Britain in poem, basically. So, Poet Laureateship is a royal literary office. It was established in 1668 by the British monarch. Okay. Who was the first poet laureate? You should know this. This is a very common question. John Dryden. Look at the image on the left. The first poet laureate of England was John Dryden. He was given this office in the year 1668, precisely when the poet laureateship began. I'll come back to this photo, but first let's start with how the poet laureates kept changing in the history. Start with the first official poet laureate of England. He is John Dryden, belonged to the Restoration age. So when it was the restoration of the monarchy, he was appointed as the first poet laureate. He held this position from 1668 to 1689. Not only was Dryden the poet laureate of England, but also historiographer royal. Now, one extra information for Dryden, he's the father of English criticism, right? My last video was based on this, no? Fathers and mothers in British literature. So who's the father of English criticism? He's John Dryden. The first official poet laureate of England, started his tenure in 1668, ended it in 1689. Who came after Dryden? Look. He's Thomas Shadwell. Dryden and Shadwell were poles apart, right? Shadwell was a Whig. Dryden was a Tory. Dryden attacked Shadwell, right? Now, first, listen about Thomas Shadwell. Shadwell was appointed as the Poet Laureate of England from 1689 to 1692. He got this position after the Glorious Revolution of 1688. Shadwell was a Whig supporter. He was a Johnsonian dramatist, which means he was heavily influenced by Ben Jonson. Shadwell supported William III and Mary II. Because of this support to William and Mary, Shadwell got the position of Poet Laureate. Dryden did not support William or Mary, right? And now how Dryden and Shadwell fought. You know this. Dryden attacked Shadwell, called him as the dull poet in Macflackno. Right? So first came Dryden, then came Shadwell. Now come to the third poet laureate of England. He's Nahum Tate. All of their hair are like this curly girls must be so envious of these hair, right? Chalo, look at Nahum Tate. He was the poet laureate of England from 1692 to 1715. He was Anglo-Irish. He was also, just like Dryden, both poet laureate as well as historiographer royal. A very important question that comes in net about Tate is, who altered King Lear of Shakespeare by giving it a happy ending? Or who gave a positive ending to King Lear? The answer is Nahum Tate. In his work, quote, In the History of King Lear. Easy? And tell me the laureateship time for Tate, 1692 to 1715. Let's move on. These are continuous names now. You just need to remember them by looking at them. I'll tell you the names of these poets and the tenure of their office, the time period for which they were the poet laureates. Listen, keep listening. Easy it is. Nicholas Rove had the position from 1715 to 1718. followed by Lawrence Eusden, who was the poet laureate from 1718 to 1730. After Eusden came Cibber, that is Colley Cibber. He was the poet laureate from 1730 to 1757. After Cibber came Whitehead, that is William Whitehead. Whitehead was poet laureate from 1757 to 1785. Then came Wharton, Thomas Wharton, who took the office from 1785 to 1790. After Wharton came Pye, Henry James Pye, from 1790 to 1813. Then came Sadeh, Robert Sadeh, who was the poet laureate from 1813 to 1843. Okay, can we move on now from 1843 onwards? Yes, we can. Let me move on with the slide. Here comes William Wordsworth. Very important. William Wordsworth was the romantic poet who became the poet laureate. This question comes in the exam. Which romantic poet became poet laureate? The answer has to be William Wordsworth. Okay. He was appointed from 1843 to 1850. But one very important thing about Wordsworth is he took this position on one condition. He said, I will not write something very important when I'm the poet laureate. I will not write about England. So he took the poet laureateship on his own terms and conditions. So William Wordsworth is the poet who wrote no important poetry as the poet laureate of England, right? He took this position from 1843 to 1850. He was appointed by Queen Victoria. And you know this, Wordsworth said for poetry. What did Wordsworth say for poetry? Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Easy, very easy. Who came after Wordsworth? Tell me. Who took the poet laureateship office from 1850 onwards? He is Tennyson. Alfred Lord Tennyson. He actually took this position for 42 years. So he is the longest serving poet laureate of the 19th century. But this is a big confusing question in net. If the question comes, who is the longest serving poet laureate in Britain? Please do not tick mark Alfred Lord Tennyson. The correct answer has to be Masefield. I'll clear the confusion, but I'm telling you again, the longest serving poet laureate in the history of Britain is Masefield, not Tennyson. Okay? Come back to Tennyson now. I will tell you about him. Tennyson took the office from 1850 to 1892. Tennyson is the voice of the Victorian age. If a question comes, which poem was written by Tennyson as poet laureate? The poem that was based on Crimean War, the poem of national importance, the answer needs to be The Charge of the Light Brigade. Another important point related to Tennyson is he was the first poet to be buried in Poets' Corner, Westminster Abbey, as a national poet. So who was the first poet to be buried in Poets' Corner, Westminster Abbey as a national poet? The answer has to be Alfred Lord Tennyson. Easy. Can we move on now? Who comes after 1892? All of them. Please remember their names now. Alfred Austin became the poet laureate from 1896 to 1913. After Austin came Bridges, who became poet laureate from 1913 to 1930. 1913 to 1930, that is Bridges. Now comes John Masefield. This is the answer. The longest serving poet laureate of England for 37 years was John Masefield. He took this office from 1930 to 1967. Then comes C.D. Louis or Cecil D. Louis, who took the position from 1968 to 1972. 1968 to 1972. And then came Sir John Benjamin, who took the position from 1972 onwards. And after Benjamin came Ted Hughes in 1984. Look at Hughes on the screen. There is something important to tell about Hughes, so I got one slide dedicated to him. Ted Hughes was the Poet Laureate of England from 1984 to 1998. He's considered as a modern poet. He's the husband of Sylvia Plath. He was appointed by Queen Elizabeth II. Now, there are three poet laureates who died while serving as poet laureates of England. Who are they? Ted Hughes first, Tennyson second, and John Masefield third. Remember them. Lord Alfred Tennyson, John Masefield, and Ted Hughes. They died while serving as poet laureates of England. Easy? Very easy. Let's move on now. 1998 onwards. It is Andrew Motion from 1999. Very important for Motion. He is the first poet laureate who got appointed for a fixed period of time. Before him, that is, until Ted Hughes, poet laureateship was not fixed term office. But after Andrew Motion, or you can say from Andrew Motion onwards, the poet laureateship started to be given for a period, for a fixed period of 10 years. Will you remember this? You will. Andrew Motion from 1999 to 2009, Carol Ann Duffy from 2009 to 2019, Simon Armitage is 2019 to present. He will continue till 2029. Will you remember this? So, what is very important about Carol Ann Duffy? She's the first woman poet laureate of Britain. Who is the first woman poet laureate of Britain? Carol Ann Duffy. She's Scottish and she's also the first openly LGBTQ poet laureate. Okay? And who's the one currently sitting on this royal position? Simon Armitage. He's a contemporary poet. Of course, he's been appointed for 10 years from 2019 onwards. Look at Carol Ann Duffy on the screen and look at Simon Armitage, the 21st UK poet laureate. At some places, you will find him as 20 or 22nd, but the most favored answer is 21st. Okay? So Carol Ann Duffy and Simon here. Now, these questions have been framed in UGC Net many a times. I thought I will bring them on one page. Please follow it with me. First poet laureate of Britain is John Dryden from 1668. The romantic poet laureate of Britain is William Wordsworth. The most important Victorian laureate is Alfred Lord Tennyson. The longest serving poet laureate is John Masefield, who started the first fixed term laureateship, Andrew Motion, from 1999 onwards for a span of 10 years. The first woman laureate in Britain is Carol Ann Duffy, and the present laureate is Simon Armitage. So nice. We're done. And I will love to take you back to the first image that I created. You can understand everything. Let me read the image to you now. Now, do you understand everything? It becomes so easy by the end of the lecture, right? Poet Laureateship of Britain is the royal appointment of national poets. This office was established in 1668. First laureate is John Dryden. Key facts about poet laureateship appointed by the monarch. Originally appointed for life, but now it is fixed term for 10 years. These poets write for national events and royal occasions. Notable poet laureates are Wordsworth of the Romantic era, Tennyson of the Victorian era, Duffy, the first woman poet laureate, Ted Hughes, who served from 1984 to 1998. Simon Armitage is 2019 to present. And these poet laureates are called the voice of the nation in verse. The voice of the nation in verse. So nice. We're done. I hope you loved the video today. If you did, kindly comment and share it with your friends, whoever is a net enthusiast, whoever is a British literature enthusiast, and of course subscribe to us if you still haven't. I'm Heena from Team Vallath. Take very good care of yourself. Bye bye.